This is Robert Phoenix, and this is the Astro Weather. Congratulations if you're here. You are taking part of one of the few early morning astrology shows across the internet that looks at the astrology of the day, the astral weather patterns that are within us and without us. And without us, boy, or outside of us, we had a real amazing display of the aurora borealis, which is, I think, the second time in about a year that it has crept further south than at any other time uh, in recorded memory. Wow. Now, we didn't get much of it here for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I didn't travel outside the lit area. If I'd gone to maybe a dimmer part of the hill country, I might have been able to pick it up. But as far north as Dallas, the uh, celestial pyrotechnics were happening, and spectacularly. It's the type of display that when it would have been shown upon or illustrated for a more primal or primitive or older culture, it would have freaked them the fuck out. Like, what is going on here? It is or the aurora borealis, comets, eclipses. These are all signs from the heavens that something is imminent, and the imminence of it is usually wrapped in some degree of fear and disbelief. Like, what is going on? What's happening? The gods must be upset with us in order for this to happen. There's a famous story about Columbus, who had been, I think, cast ashore on Hispaniola, or one of those islands down in the Caribbean, and the natives there were not happy with the Spaniards. The Spaniards were a trip, man. They were a trip. They were cool for a while, and they would trade stuff, and they would get tortoises and tortoise shells and food and all this other shit, and then eventually they put handcuffs on some of the people and put them on board the ship so they could take them back to Spain, like some kind of captured species. They almost always did this. The Spaniards were a trip. Their idea of colonization was interesting, to say the least. But anyway, with good reason, the natives were they were not they were not really willing to help Columbus get through this very difficult season, where his men were dying of scurvy and starvation. I mean, the trials that these explorers and conquistadors went through were nothing short of biblical in their like torturous descriptions of what they had to go through. I mean, insanely, to the point where by the time they got back to Spain, where they set off from, their ships were being eaten from the inside out, right, by these worms that would get into the wood, and they're any longer period of time at sea, these worms would just eat through the entire ship itself, and it would get so bad that they would have to like boil pieces of leather clothing just to eat to stay alive. The rats, which had come onto the ship because they had grain and all this other stuff, the rats became food, right? It was a hunting ground. So the conditions that these guys went through the entire time of their journey was just absolutely torturous. So I think they're in Hispaniola, and they're not getting any help, and the natives are at a distance. So Columbus knew that an eclipse was coming in 3 days, right? So what does that tell you about Columbus? Right, Columbus had an ephemeris. He had an ephemeris. He had star charts, star maps. He was very well acquainted with the movement of the sun in relationship to the moon, and he knew that in 3 days' time there was going to be a lunar eclipse, and it was going to be visible from where they were. And he got the chief medicine man, or the chief, and said, listen, if you don't feed us, our God is going to be very, very hostile with you. And there will be a terrible price to pay for not treating us kindly and with respect. And you will know within 3 days, 3 days' time, our God will deliver his judgment upon you. So they knew what a day was. And 3 days pass, and then on that third day, of course, at night, here comes a lunar eclipse. Now, you would think that maybe, just maybe, that the natives might have seen a lunar eclipse before, but perhaps not. Not to that degree. And they were fucking terrified. They started paddling out to the boats. Here, take this, take this, take this. We're sorry. We'll never doubt the power of your God again. Right? This is I'm sharing this story with you because this is the power of celestial events. You know, even now when there's talk of 3-eye Atlas and what it might be or what it might not be, it strikes a very primal chord inside of us where the sky was the cinematic theater, and people told stories about the constellations and mythologies evolved out of them. And so when we have something like the aurora borealis and these massive solar flares, it actually elicits a lot of different feelings. When I see it, I see awe and wonder and magic. And who knows, it could be a harbinger for something else that's coming, right? Because usually that's how these things were interpreted, as signs. They were interpreted as signs for the people, and they could be good omens or bad omens. I guess it depended upon what kind of mood or how much manipulation the medicine man or the chief wanted to instill upon the people. So from my vantage point, in the last 24 hours, because what we try to do is we try to link up event phenomena with what's going on in the world, because it gives us a sense of what might actually be happening. And my experience is, over the last 24 hours, me reaching out into the world through the tentacles of fiber optic cables, is that there's a separation that's taking place right now. And this gets into this concept that I talked about on Sunday night to a certain extent, but more in the piece that I posted over on Substack. And it has to do with the galactic center and Sagittarius. And right now, Vesta is conjunct the galactic center. When we go into the chart of the moment, I'll put it up there and you guys can see it for all of its glory, right? And on the other side of the galaxy is Gemini, which is the trickster. It is the messenger god. And again, if you go to my Substack, you can it's not like you're going to get a Joseph Campbell rendering of this, but there's enough there for you to understand what I'm talking about. And most of you do already. So it feels like what we're dealing with here. Let me bring up the chart at the moment. Let's just jump into it. And by the way, Chataria, hello to everyone and welcome. I'm glad you're here. And I hope wherever you are, your day is filled with, or has been filled with, or will be filled with meaning and purpose, and most of all, good health and love. So let's start there, and then let's get into the chart of the moment. All right. You know what? This is so damn funny. So damn funny. Before the show, I said, let me put up a graphic so when I do the graphic, I can burn through a blank, which I did. I was like, oh, look at that. I said, oh, look at that. I didn't have to burn a blank. But then I come back in the show, and that's exactly what happened. All right, so let's get into now, shall we? Let's zoom in here. Okay, that's Vesta, and the galactic center is right there at 25 degrees. Now, we've had a shift basically overnight, right? Uranus has ducked back into Taurus. So there it is, all the outer planets, with the exception of Jupiter, which is going to happen fairly soon, are now retrograde. So how that works is the outer planets, think of scripts, okay? So the inner planets are the script writers. Still like Scott Besson. Oh, good. Send him a Christmas card. The inner planets are the script writers of our lives, right? They're the ones at a daily basis that we're dealing with. The outer planets tend to be the script writers of the collective play, even though they do have an impact on our charts, right? It is the inner planets and then the outer planets. The inner planets are personal. The outer planets are transpersonal. So when we have the outer planets going retrograde, it means that our relationship with the quote unquote script writers of the external reality changes. That we look at things and experience things from a different perspective. And the perspective is one where we step back and have instead of moving forward, we're stepping back and we're having a look at what's really going on. And when you have all these outer planets retrograde, and not every single outer planet retrograde and time that they're retrograde is the same. Because we've had outer planets in full-on retrograde mode before. But those were different times, different circumstances, and different social conditions. So when they go retrograde during a time like now, right, there was a different narrative, and the narrative was set up when the outer planets had moved forward and were giving us one part of the story. And it's like when you watch a movie, movies aren't always linear, right? Some movies are, but a lot of movies have flashbacks. When you deal with a Tarantino movie, you're dealing with kind of different layers of time. And when we get into these retrogradisms of the outer planets, it's like we're having flashbacks, or we're stepping back and we're seeing a new narrative emerge from something that might have happened previously in the story and the script. All right, so if we go back and look at Donald Trump in the run-up to his election in 2024, he was doing and saying everything that Americans were desperate to hear, because we had had 4 years of elder abuse. And what I mean by that is we didn't abuse the elder, although some people did. That elder in the White House abused us. And people were tired of it. They were tired of, this geriatric fool and all of his enablers. Right? So Trump comes in and the bar is really low. Like, you don't have to do much better than that. You have to be able to show up and not shit your depends. But he's going above and beyond and talking about this golden age and all these promises around, like, employment and the economy, and how he had the best economy of all time when he was president before. I mean that's just like the icing on the cake. The cake itself probably would have been edible, especially if you had kind of a couple tears in that cake. And let's say your cake was, I don't know, vanilla, and you had chocolate icing in between those two. You can eat that cake. You'd be happy with that cake. It's like, I'm happy with this cake. But you want to put some icing on that cake? Well, I'll take that. Right? And that was kind of the icing on the cake. It was the promissory note for the future. And now here we go. Retrograde. The outer story is being told differently now. The solutions that are theoretically on the table for an economy that we're not getting the full details with, by the way. The solutions are, how'd you like to have a 50-year mortgage? How'd you like to have a 15-year car loan? And not only that, but Trump got into it with Laura Ingraham about American workers and how we need these H-1B workers in order to fill jobs, because Americans just aren't very good at them. This is what I'm talking about with the outer planets. This is outer planet retrograde stuff. And if we link it back up to what's happening in the sky, right? The sky itself is not your average typical night sky, right? It is a harbinger of change. I tend to view it, whether you want to like break it down into an X-class flare and, get into the sort of the gamma ray science of what's going on with the sun. You can do that, right? I'm looking at this as a metaphor that things are changing, that how we view things is going to change. It's not going to be business as usual. And when I see the aurora borealis, I am taken aback by the beauty of it. That for me, it is a portent of a world to come, one that is filled with silence and awe and wonder and the magic of a calliope of light in the sky. It reminds us in many ways that this journey is one that at times can be filled with grandeur and awe. And so when I see that, what it does is it holds up a contrast to this other reality, this gritty day-to-day in the Northern Hemisphere, we're moving into colder times kind of reality. And with the outer planets being retrograde, we're rethinking our relationship to the whole. And particularly with Uranus going back into Taurus and moving closer into Algol, which is a 26 Taurus. I got to tell you, I'm seeing more and more videos where people are sick and, pardon my language, fucking tired of people from other countries or have allegiances or alliances with other countries telling us how to live. So the most recent example is Ben Shapiro. And Ben Shapiro, in his arrogant little tyrant self, came out and said, yeah, things may be really hard here financially, economically. Even though you were born here doesn't give you a right or a benefit to live here. Maybe you should go live somewhere else where it's more affordable. So what is Ben Shapiro saying? Should Americans move to Mexico and get out because it's cheaper? Like this kind of arrogance that is also intertwined with heaping amounts of foreign aid to a country that Ben has a dual citizenship with is not something that Americans are going to take very kindly towards. That's why I'm talking about these outer planets retrograde. Now, Mercury is also retrograde in Sagittarius, and it's coming back onto Mars, and people are getting steamed. They're getting steamed. Mercury is going to retrograde and go back and oppose Uranus. And it is a high tension wire, and people are close to snapping. I watch these Instagram reels, and people are in their cars, and they're like, "What? What? What do you?" The amount of patience and the amount of tolerance, we'll use tolerance with a capital T, is over. Right? It is over. People, there's just a momentum now. And with all these planets in Sagittarius, you can't escape the truth. Right? The truth is that this country has been completely sold out. We are not even, like Ben Shapiro is like the landlord. He's like, well, if these apartments are too expensive for you, go move into Section 8 housing across the border. I mean, that's essentially what he's saying. Yeah, and Americans are absolutely struggling under the weight of medical premiums that are going to go up, insurance, which is escalating, power bills that are going through the roof because now all of a sudden we're pumping into these AI centers, which aren't really doing anything except helping people make videos and images and memes and who knows, I don't know, maybe they're getting some use out of it. It's like I use Zoom when I do sessions with clients. And Zoom is always asking me if I want to engage with their AI. And I'm like, fuck no, I don't. I don't need your fucking AI. Like, why do I need your AI? So your AI can encapsulate my session with somebody. And so you can, I mean, they're already listening in. So what am I supposed to garner from it? Oh, thank you, AI. No, keep your fucking AI. I don't need it. I don't need to turn it on so your power bill can become incrementally more expensive. These are the hardcore issues that we are dealing with. Prices are going up. Portions are shrinking. This is the irrefutable reality. And Trump is losing the room, and it's all the outer planets. And people are reassessing their relationship with this thing that we've signed up for on so many levels. So many levels. And today we have the moon in Leo, and people are not happy. Like, can you have a good day? Am I telling you to go off into your day and be pissed off? No, I'm not. Well, I am encouraging you to have a productive and meaningful and creative and soulful and connected day, right? Because those are the things that matter the most. At the end of the day, literally and figuratively, what are the things that you're going to keep with you and carry with you? It will be those moments. Yeah, I'm sure there are the moments where you fuck up and you do something wrong, or you're too abrupt with somebody, or whatever, right? Those can be patched up. But at the end of the day, right, it is the resonance of the connection that keeps you moving forward. The connection with yourself, your higher self, whatever purpose you have here in this world, right? And the purpose that you have in this world is to get connected to your higher self, which is the highest expression of who you are, which is God, right? And you just, you realize that everything is an emanation of creation and you are a center point of it, but you're not. You're the center point, but you're not, because there's all these other center points and they're not as well. And when we realize that, we realize both our importance and our insignificance simultaneously. It's a beautiful thing. With the moon of Leo today, people are not suffering fools gladly. They're not. There's no more time. There's no more patience. There's no more waiting around for the 5D chess to kick in. There's no more waiting around for trusting the plan. I'm going to play Trump's clip with Laura Ingraham over on 15 Minutes. By the way, the link for 15 Minutes is in the description for the show notes. And for everybody, the special, the 30-day special with Silver Botanicals has ended. We'll have another one upcoming here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be doing a show from the Silver Botanicals headquarters, I believe, next Friday, if I am not mistaken. We have to sort that out. It's either next Friday or the following Friday. We'll be doing a live show from Silver Botanicals, and you'll be able to see a lot of their processing, and you'll be able to meet Dean and Ray. It'll be a good show. But, and by the way, thank you for everybody who participated in that. We'll have more. They're on board. They're sponsors, and your response was terrific. And I hope that you're enjoying the products and that you are so impressed with them that you'll come back for more and move away from some of the standard products you buy at the store in order to do the things that they're actually giving you solutions for. Everything they have is an alternative pretty much for what you can buy at the store. So thank you all for participating with that and supporting their business. We have more to come. But today, with the moon in Leo, people are over it, man. Moon Sun square, Moon Uranus square, the patience level is thin. Yesterday, I did a show on 15 about Alexis Wilkins. And she is the paramour of one Kash Patel. Well, we're going to go in a little bit deeper today with Alexis. I've found a few things. She's one of these people that does a pretty good job of scraping her past. But you'll be surprised with some of the stuff that I have found. There's still a lot more out there. But I'm going to play that Trump and Laura Ingraham clip. It'll make your blood boil. So if you want to get your blood up, please join me on 15. Because it's not a good look. In general, it's just not a good look. So we have the moon coming in, and Uranus is retrograded, and it's squaring the moon as well. I would offer up, look, if you are angry and you have a short fuse, go do something about it. Right? Go do something about it. Go down to the river or go to the mountain and yell. Get it out. Get it out. Don't I mean, look, if you have to have a moment of righteous indignation with somebody, I'm not going to stop you. It's one of those days. And we've got this in conjunct with Saturn and the moon, and it's kind of like red tape, hidden clauses. It reminds me of the book by Kafka, The Castle. If you've never read Kafka, it is a absolute meditation in futility. And Kafka understood what happens when the state is granted ultimate power. And I remember reading The Castle, and like in college, I'm like 3/4 of the way through it. I'm like, this motherfucker is cooked. Like every level. So The Castle is a metaphor, and every level in the castle has different levels. At every level he goes to, he is seeking justice for something that he didn't do. And at every level, he runs into another layer of bureaucracy. And to the point where his original charges or whatever he was defending himself against become obfuscated, and he has new things now that he has to do. It's just, at about 3/4 of the way of the book, I picked it up and I just threw it across the room. I think that was the intent. Right. And with the Saturn moon in conjunct, it's like the hidden clause, the hidden language, the what? You didn't tell me that. Oh, it's right here. It's right here. It is in the 8th paragraph, 3rd subsection, 4th clause, 3rd line. It's the 2nd sentence. What? This is the Saturn moon in conjunct. And just be aware of what happens in that moment. Right? Be aware of what happens in the moment. Watch yourself. Figure out what you want to do. Do you want to tell somebody that they're participating in a system that is based on deceit, corruption, and lies? Do you want to do that? I'm sure that'll go over well, but every now and then you got to let them have it. Or do you want to deal with it and deal with your frustration? Because we still have this grand trine going on. Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, right? This is one of those days where you have to navigate through tension. But if you can navigate through the tension, you can find a flow. These two are not mutually exclusive. Don't allow other people to knock you off track today. Deal with it. Deal with the disappointment. Deal with whatever, right? Either directly or zip your lip and go somewhere and curse it out, or go to the gym and work it out, and don't stay there. That is the key, is to not stay there. Okay? Don't stay there. Because there's other options. There's like, oh, you mean I can do this? It's so funny. I'm in this Medicare thing now. This wonderful thing that happens when you're 65 years of age. And I have to get these supplements, right? And so somebody told me, oh, you've got to get this supplement G, because for any longer form of hospitalization or care, you're gonna want it, because it really covers, and I don't know what's going on with my heart, right? Like, when I have an echocardiogram, and it could be minor, it could be major. And for all of you who have reached out and sent me good vibes, and in some cases even products to take care of my heart, thank you so much. It means a lot to me. But I don't know what's going to happen, because you may need a new valve or whatever, right? So I've got to make sure that, I cover my bases. So anyway, somebody said, go to this woman. She's great. She'll find you the best deal. She's a broker. So I said, okay. So they gave me her number. And this was a couple of weeks ago. And I called her up. And she was very officious and very Texan in that very Texan kind of way. Like, I'm your third grade teacher from 1965, and I'm going to be a hard ass, right? Like, she had that vibe to her. And she was, well, I don't talk to anybody unless it's a referral, and I make all my appointments via email. And so, I had to jump through some hoops with this person. And I'm like, okay, the vibe is a little harsh. It's all right. But if you're good, I don't care. So yesterday I had this meeting with her, and she was as nice as she could be. Right? It was like she was just, very kind and explained everything. And I mean, you could tell that she loved her work. And so, my initial, like, wow, I mean, this is very officious, right? Like, I had to kind of put that on hold. Number one, because I need the coverage. And number two, let's just see what this is all about. And not that I'm some fucking, paragon of virtue, but I could have gone in and with my Scorpio rising. Oh, okay, well, let's see what this third grade school teacher has to say, right? And I'm like, I'm just going to be here. I'm just going to be on time. I'm just going to, deal with the call. I'm not going to, have an agenda. And it worked out fine. And she was, we'll see. She's going to go out and find me some deals or whatever, right? And so this is what I'm talking about. Because we had the T-square. We had the T-square in action already. And so you can get hung up there. You can get your antlers caught in the barbed wire fence, or you can move through it and connect up with this grand trine, which is greater flow. And that's what you want in your life, right? You want to be able to have things flow. And every now and then you got to do some heavy lifting. Nobody's saying that like it's always going to be easy, but sometimes the heavy lifting is more about your attitude and more about your beliefs than it is about any external kind of, exertion. So what I'm sharing with you is that there is a way through. There's a way through the oncoming pileup that people are dealing with today. And if you have to deal with it accordingly, so you can move back into the flow. That's the key to everything. And astrology is at its best where it shows us where the flow is. Don't sweat the small stuff. Right? And the small stuff may seem big, but if you step back a little bit and allow things to unfold the way they're supposed to unfold, it's not as big as you think. Now, as far as the external world of what's going on out there, that's a whole different kind of cooker, right? And sometimes those two worlds intersect and sometimes they don't. What did Jesus say? Be in this world, but not of it. It's not a bad practice. Venus is squaring Pluto. So there is intensity in relationships today, right? It's about 6 degrees. It's starting to separate. And we've been dealing with this now for like the last 8 to 9 days. And I feel like in a lot of ways it can be good because Venus-Pluto square is till death do you part. But the bad side of the Venus-Pluto square is hanging on to things for too long. And that Venus-Pluto square is the relationships that take you into the underworld. Like Orpheus and Eurydice. So this is where, we get to look at the toxins in our relationships. I know somebody, I think they watched the show, Aquarius rising, Pluto's transiting their ascendant. They got this Venus-Scorpio square going on right now. And I was around them this weekend, and I watched their relationship just get atomized. And atomized because inside that relationship, there were two people who could not let go of the wounds that kept them together. That is the story behind this Venus-Pluto square. So today is, I wouldn't call it a bad day, right? I mean, there are certain things that are going to test your patience. And by the way, if you're out there on the highway with Mercury retrograde conjuncting onto Mars, keep your eyes on the road. Do not text while you're driving. Don't try to get a podcast on your phone while you're driving. Pay attention. This is a very tricky travel day. And for all you people out there trying to catch planes and connecting flights, I wish you all the best, especially with this Mercury retrograde. All right, let's get into our True Hemp Science star of the day. See what we did there? We went right into the meat today. Today was meaty. Okay, let's do some banners. All right. Some of you may know that part of the government reopening is a deal that's being made to remove THC from CBD products nationwide. They couldn't do it in certain states. They couldn't do it in Texas. But now Trump this is all part of the reopening of the government, wants to remove the THC from CBD. And that affects, of course, True Hemp Science, which is and has been a sponsor of the show for the last 5 years. And Chris's products have been extremely important and helpful to many lives, whether it's to help people sort through their anxiety, their pain, whether it's for them personally or for their pets, with pet sounds, whether it's internally with the tinctures or the gummies, or whether it's externally with the salves. It is some of the best CBD you will encounter on the internet. And they are working towards essentially banning it. Why? It's because Trump has deals with Big Pharma. They can fast track Ozempic and make Ozempic cheaper, but oh no, we can't have CBD. Do you know how many CBD businesses there are in the United States? A lot. Do you know how many people those CBD businesses employ? A lot. And you remove that from the economic sector, you're taking a bite out of people's livelihoods. And we know that the main people behind this are Big Pharma and the cartels. In California alone, CBD outsells THC. Were you aware of that? People would rather have CBD in their lives because they can function. They're not going to be whacked out and high. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if you want something that can allow you to function during the day, it's going to be CBD and it will address your needs. And the way this thing is going is that they're going to cut the legs out from people like Chris. They'll give them a year grace period. I was also reminded the alcohol lobby as well. They don't want alcohol. Big Pharma doesn't want you to be able to cure yourself. Okay? This is a travesty. This is one of those moon square sun square Uranus moments. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway, if you go to truehempscience.com, you can become a member of the First Time Buyers Club. Get 20% off. Type in 15MINS. You get the goodie bag on top of it. It is such a good deal. And look, Chris is a sponsor of the show because, number one, his product is exceptional. Number two, he's a great guy. Now, you may have somebody else in the CBD world that you buy from. That's fine. But I think at the very least, we need to support these people. Because I'll tell you, they will try to sue the federal government and try to get this thing tied up, which they need to. And this is all just political favoritism and cronyism. All right, so True Hemp Science brings us our star of the day, and today it's Rachel DOLEZAL. Now, you may remember Rachel as being, at one point in time, the head of the NAACP. Until they found out that old Rachel is really a white girl. That's little Rachel on the right and modern Rachel on the left. I'm like, well, isn't that interesting? So you look at a chart like this, it's like, how does a person decide that they want to become black? Right? It's Pluto. It's Pluto on the ascendant. She wants to change her identity. And Pluto is obviously a dark planet, right? The ruler is Scorpio, and it's conjunct her true freaking node, right? So she's here to express herself. Now, being a part of social justice and social cause is going to be a big part of her life. Obviously, right? She's here I think it's hard to be a Libra rising with the true node of Libra in your first house. I think it's hard because your role here is to form bonds and connect with people and to have relationships that are about like balance and harmony and justice, but it's through your identity. It's not through the relationship itself. So you're looking towards other people to balance that sense of self here. Everything was reversed, right? Like Libra's on the ascendant, Aries is on the descendant, Capricorn's in the fourth house, Cancer's on the midheaven. So the approach to the world at large is going to be nurturing and caring, and she's got Jupiter up there and it's retrograde, but she also has Mars in Leo in the 10th house. So she's a bit dramatic, isn't she? I mean, if you look at pictures of her, like you go through her gallery of pictures online, and she presents herself in a very dramatic way in many cases. And she's got that Mars sextile to her ascendant. And clearly she's got kind of a Leo hairdo as well, right? So the other thing is that Sun-Uranus conjunction down in the second house. Again, that's like the Sun is identity and Uranus is a radical identity. Well, I mean, going from this little girl here, I think she grew up in Washington State, didn't she? She's born in Montana, but I think she grew up in Washington State. So she goes from this lily white little girl in Washington State, and somewhere along the way, she decides she's going to be black, and gets elected to the NAACP. What does that tell you about the NAACP? We've gone into them before. Do they really honor blackness? No. I mean, the first person that they elected to the NAACP was what's his name? W.E. Du Bois. The guy could pass for white. I would say almost everybody who started the NAACP, but like if you were to break it down ethnographically, 80% of the founders of the NAACP were Jewish. The other 20% were white liberal socialist Americans. That's who founded the NAACP. And the first person that they got to run it was a mixed Creole communist homosexual. I'm just being clear. W.E.B. Du Bois. So when you see Rachel Dolezal and she's the head of the NAACP, does it really shock you based on the roots of the organization? The answer to that is no. It's okay. We believe you're black. Black people didn't start it anyway. You're good. For her, there's a radical approach to identity. And if you just look at this part of her chart, starting with the sun, right, and then really ending with the true node and Libra rising, the sun is right out in front. It's the locomotive of this little train here from the second house to the first house. And with Scorpio, she is going to transform. And all those planets behind her will be in service towards that transformation. And she got rewarded. Somewhere along the way, this gal got rewarded. Then if you go down to her third house, it gets a little trickier there. She's got Mercury, Moon, Sagittarius. Her past will catch up with her. That's that square to Saturn. I think her father really alienated her and wanted her to be anything but who she was and how she read. She's still unapologetic to this day. She's made a career out of passing, but passing in a different kind of way, right? And she has Saturn in the 11th house, so she's going to lead a group. And look at that. Her Saturn is right on Regulus, so she winds up leading the NAACP. She becomes a group leader. But it doesn't pan out. It does not ultimately work. Does it? Neptune is doing something very interesting in her chart. We go down here. Neptune is conjuncting Juno and squaring Chiron. That's about it, right? That is about it. Her Neptune is in the third house is very shapeshifty. Like it allows her to color her world in a lot of ways. She can be anything, especially the third house, which is Gemini's house. It's a fascinating chart to look at somebody who decided that somewhere along the way she was black. I can tell you right now, her father played a role in this. It's like she saw her father as a racist, or she saw her father as somebody who was despicable. I don't know what he did. Right? Is there any evidence of abuse? I don't think so. But her father was the man. And by changing her identity, she was shifting her relationship to the man. So there you go. There's Rachel Dolezal, your True Hemp Science star of the day. All right, that does it for us. I've got to make my transition. Get on over to Studio B for 15 Minutes of Flame. Please join me. The link is in the description of the show. Like, subscribe if you want to buy me a cup of coffee. Of course, I have the QR code, but there's also a link there. It helps the show. It helps keep the lights on here and keep me in eloquence so that I can continue my regeneration of my heart. Oh, yes. Please, can you? I actually have a tin cup right here. Please, can you donate for my heart? Thank you. We'll be back tomorrow. You know, every day now I think about that. Will I be back tomorrow? Good question, Rob. It's a moment-to-moment thing. I'm here today. And with God's grace and will and love, I'll be here tomorrow. And guess what? So will you. Until then, use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Love you all. Bye for now.